because it was 17 miles long, we couldn't inspect all of it. So there may be some areas that need more work than others. But that earthwork number that we gave, that was to provide a 10-foot flat level surface for the trail
So just to make
throughout
it
the
flat.
17 miles.
Okay.
Yeah, exactly.
What does it mean when it says crushed rock and dust?
So the 1/4 inch, that's the larger aggregate, and then the dust is used basically to fill in all the voids between those particles, and that just makes it a very stable and a firm surface.
And over time, after it rains on it, it almost gets kind of concrete-like,
It's
almost.
almost cemented.
It actually makes it a decent surface, although not nearly as nice as a paved surface. I think the issue with the Monroe piece right now is that the aggregate's too big, and so it
Create
remains
that rough
kind of,
life,
it
right.
remains kind of unconsolidated. It's very, very soft.
Okay.
You guys said, was it 4 inches that you said of,
Thick for for both surfaces, so for the aggregate and for the HMA.
and then, yeah, the aggregate was what I was thinking of. But, and that's taking into consideration the rail bed that's already there, the
There's
sub-base that we
there's
usually
ballast.
use.
There's ballast already there,
Yeah.
and so, placing that on top of the ballast should be suitable. Because isn't that what was already done in the Monroe section?
Yeah, I
I
think they
believe?
just put the crushed rock on top of the
On top of the
ballast.
ballast.
Yeah.
So that should be suitable.
What we've used in the past is the ballast has been the sub-base, and then we've been able to go right under, if it's a fairly new abandonment, which this
Yeah, and
is.
that's a good question. If we were to go initially with
Just
a
with-
paved surface, would you, and maybe you haven't researched this, but would it be advisable to put the 4 inches of the finer crushed rock down, or could you put the paved surface right on the?
We didn't
The
look
ballast.
at, if you put the permanent surface right on the ballast, but, I would assume that you would want the finer, temporary sub-base first in order to create that more stable, surface, because as of now, that ballast is it's not nearly as stable as,
My guess
The
would be
temporary.
that we'd probably have to go with 6 inches of asphalt in order to get a design maintenance vehicle, not a bike or
Probably.
pedestrian, but to get a maintenance
Well, I
vehicle.
think you
on
have to go with
That's
6
another
inch
issue.
anyway for emergency vehicles. That was another question I had. And I think just for the last 25 years, because we started out with asphalt on most things because it was cheaper. But when oil got so high and we went to concrete, what we found was, my gosh, the maintenance is a whole lot less and a lot more cost effective to go concrete instead of asphalt, even if the asphalt was cheaper at the beginning.
Yeah, the concrete trails, if you keep heavy vehicles off of them, they'll last 30 years.
But even if they're the right thickness, even with heavy vehicles, now I'm talking a
Pickup
rescue
trucks.
or,
Yeah, pickup trucks.
yeah, whatever. Not boom trucks or whatever, but, normal things like that, they'll last. So I guess my challenge would be, you might want to look at, over the 20 years,
The maintenance.
what the maintenance is for asphalt, or putting in concrete and what the maintenance is, because
There's a significant, right, with oil prices so depressed right now,
yeah.
why gasoline is so cheap, there's a significant less expense to asphalt.
And so
But
it makes
that's
it
not gonna-
attractive.
But that's not gonna stay that way forever, so.
And what happens is though, cities, especially smaller communities and stuff, they'll do everything they can to get the trail in, and then you have to concentrate on the coming years and putting aside money every year for that maintenance, or you
It'll
end up with
Push
the
the
Chautauqua
top.
Valley Trail, yeah. Yeah. Or you end up with Raccoon River Valley Trail, which wasn't put in right to begin with, and then you end up reconstructing and stuff, so.
You probably wouldn't have to put any base in if you put concrete down. That road bed is gonna be packed pretty, you know.
Because it's so new, abandoned.
No, because with just running those trains over it for
Right.
100 years.
But I'm saying it hasn't been abandoned for 10 years and, eroding.
Right.
So, yeah.
And it's, you probably have a solid.
Yeah, I mean,
base.
we're way ahead of the game by having that existing rail. to
Yeah.
work
Yeah.
with. That would save us money.
And it's got a crown already somewhat for runoff and and I would think the, any tiles or drainage structures or whatever would still be pretty good because they were using.
Right.
Can
Any
we-
other questions?
I have one. Can we go back to the cost page with the So what would the cost be with just the initial subsurface? You know, before we went, let's say we didn't do asphalt or didn't do concrete.
It's 810.
It's
It'd
810.
just be the limestone.
110.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And what
But the
we'll
trail
have to
facility
do
and all that,
is, I've already set up a time to meet with a couple of people who are familiar with the federal programs, the federal gas tax programs, and fund trails, and, we're gonna have to see what that accessibility is, and, if we can finance the more permanent surface initially, then that's obviously what we're gonna try and do, but on the other hand, if we're gonna have to wait 5 or 6 years and we wanna get the trail open sooner, I think the Conservation Department will work with us on the limestone surface. So that's all, our local decision-making. We appreciate the information you've provided. Any questions about the trailhead?
Well, just circling
locations.
around to the comment she made about the concrete, at any time in your discussion or your research, did you compare what it would be for the price of concrete versus the asphalt?
The concrete in total, we came out to be about $4.1 million.
Okay.
So right now it is a lot more expensive option than the hot mix asphalt.
Okay.
Yeah, I've been hearing, man, 2 to 3 times as expensive
Because of gas,
for
thank
Portland
you.
cement concrete.
So you're saying that just the concrete cost alone is 4.5?
Yes.
million?
Just the concrete alone.
Okay.
Yeah.
And the asphalt trail, and I think someone alluded to this, if you keep up with the inexpensive routine maintenance, it's relatively inexpensive, but you have to go out there every year and
Spray it, yeah.
do what you have to do. It's when you defer that you get into the more expensive maintenance down the road. So, again, a local thing that we'll have to work with the Conservation Department on.
I've got a question on the trailhead
Okay.
too. Because I wasn't sure from the picture she showed how close that was to the trail.
Okay.
Where the trail comes through.
Yep. So if you want to go to the second, so
That's good, okay.
that one's good right here. So if you can see right at the bottom of the screen, this is the railroad,
Oh,
and the trail will cut up right along here along the street, and the trailhead would be right in there.
And we're gonna have a connection over here.
Yep. And the sidewalk would be added in along the Garden Square, so riders don't have to travel along the street there, because that area does have potential for street parking as well. We analyzed that, so eventually if more and more people start coming here, they can park there and not take away the parking spots that would be in front of restaurants or other stores.
that was my other question, if there was because it will be used as a trailhead for a staging area and things like that too.
Do we even have parking on that side of the square?
Not formally, I
You
don't
don't
think.
at this time.
Not formally.
But it's a wide streets that we can
Yeah.
provide.
Well, that's the other thing, the funeral home's right there. But go ahead, sorry.
That was our design.
This is showing the trailhead in Garden Square,
Right.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So we would have that entire area across the street for parking.
Yep.
Up against that.
And you can see
Co-op building.
the plots, like later, the real design for the city. We have everything, like parkings and the trailhead, where it's gonna go, and where it's gonna reach the trailhead facility. So it's there, like later.
And obviously, in terms of the final design, what they've shown us here with the red rectangle is a concept that can be varied. It can be scooched a little bit south. There's all kinds of possibilities that will, again, be up to Prairie City to make those decisions.
We have an empty area over here,
Yep.
a huge
Mhm.
empty
Yeah.
area, so.
But the issue there, that street, there's a lot of traffic from the co-op that uses that. That was our concern with using the other side of the street,
Yeah,
because they'll stack, semis up. So that was why we wanted to stay in the Garden Square.
I'm gonna interrupt more.
Yeah. You're fine.
I grew up around this area too, so this is kind of coming home for me. The other question I had was, I understand avoiding the co-op area and everything, and that's a request. And you'll be on the street with all of that
Yes.
too? So my question or challenge is, you can't think just that this is all bicycles. And that's the common mistake we make, because we say bike trail, which it's not a bike trail, it's just trail, and get on my soapbox again. But you've got trikes, and you've got people pushing strollers, and you've got people running and jogging and pushing a walker, you know, whatever, that are out on the street then. Is there accommodation for sidewalks?
There are
There.
sidewalks, aren't there? I think there
And
are.
how wide are
sidewalks.
they?
Are there sidewalks along the street?
So we did not add in sidewalks for the bike users, walkers, and all that. All the trail we designed is on street through town. You know, 5-foot wide lanes, standard. So there would be enough room to work around people. Is that what you're asking?
That's my, I guess my challenge is, don't think that it's just bikes, that you're gonna
Okay.
have other people
Yeah.
out there, and maybe additional accommodation needs to be made.
And I believe in the garden square, there's already sidewalk. I don't remember if on Jefferson Street there's sidewalk, because that would be probably the best option, is keep cyclists to the road and have other trail users, you know, have a sidewalk alongside
I think
it.
it goes a block, is it, does
More
it
of
end a block
a
west?
complete street.
Doesn't it end a block west?
Yes,
This is where the sidewalk ends? Yeah.
More-
Okay.
yes.
Yeah.
You know, obviously, it would be possible to go with a wide sidewalk as a more safer, if you will,
Correct.
accommodation. But if you're gonna have a mix of bike and pedestrian traffic, you'd want a minimum of 6 feet, probably 8 feet, and those are very unpopular in residential areas. Nobody wants to live on the sidewalk.
Well, unless the city commits to doing the clearing,
Right.
and
Or
Putting it in.
some places have ordinances where you just have to clear 4 feet of an 8-foot walk, that kind of thing.
East and East Jefferson Street, there's sidewalks all over, almost all over the street. So we develop the trail on the streets, like Josh said, so we can avoid, so it can be shared, like between bikes and pedestrians kind of thing. And over here, the trail is gonna pass above the parking, so we have a sidewalk over here.
And,
as well.
and down the side of Garden Square.
Yep.
To come back to the.
We're gonna have this parking spots, we're gonna have